All right, YouTube. So today we are going to tackle the funnest, the trolliest, and maybe, I can't believe I'm saying this, one of the projects that I think has potential to do some pretty amazing things in the world of crypto. I have been, I don't know, down to the depths of like looking at this crypto, and I finally come back up for air, and that is why I'm making this video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, which you probably don't, it is FEG, F-E-G, Feed Every Gorilla. This is such an interesting token. We're going to cover it. We're going to cover why I'm so interested in it and what it means for you and me, and I'm going to buy some live with you on this video. Want to know more? I know you do. Stay tuned. Coming right up. All right, guys, so as we jump into this, a quick intro for myself. Hello there, my name is Wes Spencer. I'm a technologist, I'm a cybersecurity entrepreneur, and I love all things crypto. In fact, I built this channel to cover all of those things because I find them to be interesting, especially with crypto. There's just way too much FUD that's out there. There's way too much crypto pumping that I think happens with people that have no idea what they're talking about, especially with price speculation. And hey, little secret, I don't know what I'm talking about either when it comes to those things. So I want to stick just to the fun of it. I want to stick to the interesting pieces of it. And I do want to stick to how we can use it to build some wealth, but also just because it's such a fun and really, really interesting world that we live in right now. So FEG token. FEG. Why is this thing so interesting? A friend of mine showed this to me, and then I saw some comments in my YouTube videos about it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check this thing out. And like, this is the coolest thing ever. It's a little trolly. It's a little, if you haven't paid attention, and I'm sure you have, to all of the GameStop stonks and the, Reddit Wall Street bets and the, speaking in front of Congress and all of like the stock action that's happened that's driven things like GameStop and AMC like way, way, way to the moon. What a fun ride. There's a little bit of this involved. And so hopefully you're kind of curious about it. Let's just jump right in. I want to show it to you in action. So I'm going to hit transition right here on my slide so we can get over to what I want to show you here today. So this is Feed Every Gorilla. It's fegtoken.com. If you want to go there, I think you should because it's super cool. There's a couple things that stand out to me. First of all, this rockin' gorilla dude, right? Like, he's the coolest. I don't know if we can zoom in on him or not, but yeah, there we go. Look at that guy, man. Dude, I wish I was as cool as him. Like, he's got it going on. Like, when I see something like that, I'm like, okay, first things first. These guys aren't taking themselves too seriously. And let me tell you something. In the world of crypto, we need more people like that. There are way too many projects that take themselves way too seriously. If you don't know what I mean, I'm not going to pick any out like specifically right now, but just go look at like these big lofty statements. We're changing the way the industry works by whatever our thing in blockchain and token is doing. And I'm like, guys, you're so new. Like, quit talking in these big extremes. Maybe you should go have some fun with something for a minute, right? And that's, by the way, that we did it. So I built and just sold a few months ago a company called Perch. Allegedly, I'm not allowed to talk about the numbers, but if you look at public data, $80 million is what we sold it for. We didn't take ourselves really seriously at all. We were serious about what we did, but the style of it, we were just kind of like, let's not be overly dramatic in cybersecurity. And I see a little bit of this in FEG. I like that they have this super cool gorilla, and what the heck is Feed Every Gorilla? Am I a gorilla? Am I hungry? Like, I don't quite know. So I think that's super interesting. I love their approach. Now let's kind of talk about a few things for a minute. First of all, one of the things that you'll see right here that kind of stands out is this FEG burnt and FEG circulating. Now, they've burnt a bunch. And the first thing that went to my head was, whoa, like that's a whole, two things went through my head actually. Like, whoa, first of all, that is a ton of tokens. Like, we're talking not millions like Bitcoin, not billions like a lot of other cryptos, not trillions, no, quadrillions. Why on earth would I be interested in a token that has so much dilution? It's in the quadrillions. Like, that's a great question we should all ask ourselves. And I'm going to illustrate to you why that should be a concern, but also why I still don't care too much. And I still think this thing is super cool. So quadrillions, all right? Now, they've burnt more than half of that. You see that? 56 quadrillion has already been burnt. Now, I did some research on this, and I'm going to come back to this on why I think this is so interesting. So just stay tuned on that one. But first of all, I think if you're like me, you have trouble like thinking through what the heck is quadrillion? Like, I know I've heard the number before. I know the number is out there, but what does it mean? Well, I'm going to illustrate this for you. If you're like a graphical person like I am, I just need the illustrations, right? So first of all, I don't know if you knew this. Here's your TIL for the day. There are two ways to calculate or to measure a quadrillion. There's the British way, and there's the American way. And for whatever reason, the American way has won. Sorry, my Brit friends, but this is one we won on, you guys. And you can see right here, here is the quadrillion, followed by 15 zeros. So you're like, okay, cool, 15 zeros, I got it. You know, just a normal number. I'm cool with that. No. I don't think you understand this. So I'm going to show you what this would look like. If we took pennies, I wish I had a penny on my desk right now. If you've never seen a US penny, it's probably similar to any other coin that you have. If we were to take a quadrillion and we were to stack them up, look right here. Here are a few buildings out of, I think that's New York City that you see here. This cube, you see this, would be, let me highlight this for you, roughly a half a mile wide and would weigh an astonishing 3 billion tons. Who cares about the weight, right? That is one quadrillion. One quadrillion. Remember what we were talking about? In this case, we have 100 quadrillion that have been built. And so it's like, okay, guys, 100 quadrillion, like no one will ever make money on that. And right now that's kind of true. I can show you some price history charts in a minute. And like its value is like 0.00000000001 cent or something like that. It's so infinitesimally small. But why am I interested in this? Again, just stay tuned. I'm going to talk about some things. Now, let's come back to the burning for a minute, right? So, like, that's an interesting proposition that they're burning tokens. What is this coming from? So, FEG token was built off of RFI. If you're not familiar with RFI, here it is right here. It's called, and I actually hadn't heard much of it before, but it's reflect.finance. It's this idea of we want to reward holders or hodlers, or you know how I call it on my channel, hold fasters, right? Those that hold fast. And this idea of the crypto is simply this. Hey, we want to reward you by giving a 1% fee to all holders anytime a transaction is made. In other words, let me kind of illustrate this. Let's say I'm holding RFI myself and I have, 1,000 RFI tokens that I want to transact and send. Well, 1% of that transaction, when I make it, goes to all the other people that didn't make a transaction hold. It's kind of this idea of like encouraging me to hold on, and encouraging growth through that. So it's pretty interesting, right? Now, I haven't really seen a lot out of reflect.finance. If any of you guys use it to watch my channel, give me some feedback on what you like about it, because I think it's interesting. But FEG is built off of this. It's a fork of RFI, which is interesting. So they took that idea and they built it into action. Now, again, we're talking quadrillions here, but this idea of burning is existing inside of FEG. Now, why is that important? Well, you can see, look at this. We've already had 56 quadrillion burned. Now, does that mean, here was my big question. Does that mean that we've seen like tons and tons and tons of activity in FEG token so far to have that much burning? Like that just seems impossible to me, especially because FEG itself is only a couple of months old at the time of this video. I think it was created in January of 2021. So the answer is no. I'm going to show you a couple things here. So first of all, here's their blockchain. And I was doing some research into this because I just wanted to see more. So this right here is the original genesis of the token itself. Keep in mind, because this is a token, it's not like mined, it's actually created out of like the ether, so to speak, right? And this is the original creation. It came from this all zero address and it went over to the what they call the FEG deployer account. Basically, think of this as a faucet. Those of you that follow me in Pi, it's very similar, right? You feed everything into a faucet first, and then it gets distributed out to the users. So that is where, this is the original genesis. And you can see this, 100, what is that again? 100 quadrillion? I struggle with the numbers again, right? A big city block full of pennies, right? That is the original deployment. Okay, so now that we see that, and by the way, that happened 38 days ago at the time of this video, January 31st. So very, very, very recently. Now, I want to show you something else. So I started hunting through the blockchain. I was looking for large transactions because I was like, there is no way, it's not humanly possible that at 1% burning with FEG token that we've burnt over half of the entire supply. That is not possible, right? So I started to look. Check this out right here. Remember, everything was fed directly into that wallet, into that faucet from what I just showed you in the last screen. Well, look at this. From that wallet, immediately into the burn address was sent 49 quadrillion. So what is this saying here? What does this mean? Here's what this means. The people that created FEG token initially and immediately created 100 quadrillion tokens. Why? Because they wanted to. And then right away, no hesitation, no stops, no breaks. He immediately took half of it, 49 quadrillion, 49 of those big city blocks full of pennies, and immediately burnt it up into the thin air. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, guys, this has got to be fraudulent. Like, you guys, like, it feels super scammy that you would do that. So I do more research and I continue to dig in. I want to show you something else I found, right? So here is an AMA. This is an AMA that the FEG token team did with the War on Rugs people. No, not War on Drugs, War on Rugs. If you've not followed them, it's a great Twitter account. It's just a grassroots group of people that are trying to uncover fraudulent and scammy cryptos. If you want to stay in touch with them, great people to follow. And I want to show you some stuff here. So I'm just going to type in this word burn because this will make it much, much easier. So you can see right here, they actually admit to the War on Rugs folks. So we burnt 50% of the supply when we launched. So they're not hiding it. It's not like they were doing that to be like, sure, it's a marketing move, yes, but they weren't doing it to be like super sneaky and make people think that it's just so active it got burnt. They were just literally, like I said before, not taking themselves super seriously. They created 100 quadrillion and then boom, they just burnt it because they wanted to, and they're happy to disclose it. They showed it right here to the War on Rugs people. So nothing wrong with that, right? I just think it's super interesting. Now let's go back to this. I want to go back to the coin itself. Now that I've just shared with you the things that I was laughing at. I mean, literally yesterday when I was diving all the way deep into what FEG token's all about, and I'm seeing all this happen, I'm diving into the blockchain. I'm like, this seems scammy. And then I go and I see their AMA and I see they actually mention it. They talk about how they had intentionally created it and burned it. I was just laughing. I'm like, I like this. These guys are super cool. Let's get into the mechanics a little bit more because I think that's important, right? So first of all, notice what they say here. They put it in caps. This is experimental. That's important. By the way, I love experimental cryptos. Like, I'm not afraid of those at all. I don't typically invest in a lot of them because they're so experimental and pushing the edge. And you'll often see other cryptos come along and take those ideas and adopt them in. It's sort of like testing this world. And we need that in the world of crypto. This is a great example of this. So it's very experimental. Well, how is it experimental? It's experimental in a couple of different ways. I'm going to show you a couple of things that exist inside of all this so you can see. Again, let's zoom in a little bit more for those that may be hard of eyes. So here we go. So it's decentralized. It's running on the Ethereum blockchain, which means it's an ERC20 token. It was created on top of Ethereum. So all normal stuff. But here's something that's interesting. So they're showing you max supply of 100 quadrillion, although half of it's been burned. And then here we go, going back to the other token that they were kind of built off of, RFI. So a little different though in this case. So every time a transaction has been made in the world of FEG, two things happen. 1% will be distributed to all other hodlers, those that hold fast. Another 1% is immediately poof, burned. That's why they started with such a high number. If this thing is going to grow, it needs to have a ton of extra supply. So there's enough time for people like you and me to start buying and then see it continue to get burned up as the supply shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And that's where value will eventually be given. It's sort of like the same idea of Bitcoin, except Bitcoin is 21 million. That's it. That's all it'll ever be. With FEG token, it's no, there's 100 quadrillion. We burn half of it right away, and then more and more will be burned over time. And eventually people are going to want to hold it. and hold it for a lot, because as the more we see transactions grow, the more we see burning happen, the better off we'll all be. So I just think that's super, super interesting, right? It is encouraging us to hodl, and that is why I really like this, because it's a fun experiment. And you guys know me, I'm a huge hodl fan. Buy and hodl, that is the way to wealth in crypto in almost every case. And so let's just talk a little bit more about the ecosystem itself. So I've talked about a number of these things. It's fully decentralized. We know that because it's running on Ethereum. You can check it out, the blockchain, like I showed you. You see the burn rate. We talked about that. You see the rewards rate. 1% reward goes back to the hodlers like you and me if you buy and hold, which is really awesome. And then further deployment, they're going to continue to do some interesting things. And you're going to hear rumors, and I think you're going to even see this a little bit more down below, that the FEG team is going to be opening an exchange. There's going to be some interesting cooperation with Uniswap. There's some cool things going on here, which I think is really interesting. Also the tokenomics. So you see all the things here. You see the liquidity. 100% right now is all on Uniswap. So if you want to, at least that's what they're saying here. I didn't know that was true. But anyway, if you want to buy, Uniswap is where you're going to have to buy it from. You can see the token symbol. Now, here's another thing that I really like as well. There is no pre-sale to this. I hate ICOs. I really just dislike them. I realize with a lot of tokens, it's one of the only ways to get them out there. I just don't like the way that they operate. I'm not saying you shouldn't get involved in them. I just don't like them. Also, max supply 100 quadrillion, we know that, but there's no team tokens. So there's no like mining by the team. Now, how do we know these two things? How do we know that they're not just saying this on the website because crypto nerds like me want to hear that to see legitimacy? Well, here's how we know. If we go back to War on Rugs, here is their initial post about it. So they actually did a full deep dive into the FEG token. They looked at the source code. This is what these guys do, and they've certified it. It is an RFI 4. The ownership has been renounced. In other words, the people that created it don't have ownership, hadn't, like obtained a ton of that crypto already. And then as far as they're concerned, there's no backdoors or denial of service possible from the owner. In other words, there's no way for them to get back into it. You sometimes see scammy cryptos will do things like that and, create and blow up a market and then seize it. It doesn't happen often, but nice to see that. So if we go back here, this is how we can certify this no pre-sale, no team tokens. That's how we know. And let's take a look at the roadmap as well, because I think this is pretty cool. So we created this thing in January is when this whole thing was created. Not me, I say we, sometimes I get so into a crypto. Also, we saw them get listed in Uniswap. And then now they're in this phase of a marketing push, which I hadn't seen much marketing. The only reason I knew about this token was people in my YouTube comments, you guys being awesome and saying, hey, check this one out. It's interesting. So I think that's kind of cool. And then, we're still developing the system as you'd expect. There is a mobile app, and I did check that. At least it exists in the App Store, so you can check that out if you want to. I'm not downloading it. I have no need for it right now. But if you just search FEG token, you'll see it in the App Store, probably as well in Google Play. Then you can see some partnerships, some NFT sales, et cetera, that's going on. So kind of cool to see the full roadmap. And we're really early on this one, like really, really, really early. So I think that's a good thing to see. So what do I think about this guy? Let me show you what I think about it. I like it. I think this is fun. I think this is interesting. I think it's worth me getting into, if for no other reason than it's cool. It's not taking itself too seriously. I love the burn idea. I think over time it could be worth something. It's got just enough trolliness to it. I didn't show you this, but they talked about like diamond hands. Those with diamond hands are going to be the ones that are going to do the best with it. Like there's a little bit of that trolling callback there to the Wall Street Bets people. I like it. I think it's super fun. So when I find ones like this that don't take themselves overly seriously, but I can tell it's real, I can tell it's been authenticated, I sometimes want to get in on this. So I'm going to. So here we go. I've got Uniswap open right now, and I'm just going to buy some. So I'm going to spend about $500 roughly at the time of this video. So about 0.25 ETH, and we're going to buy... I don't even know how much this is. Let's see if we can figure it out. 1, 2, 3. So that's hundreds. 1, 2, 3. Now we're in the thousands. 1, 2, 3. Now we're in the million. Okay, so there we go. I'm about to buy 905 billion with a B, I think, FEG. Now, before you think I'm crypto rich, I am not. Let me show you the FEG chart. So I'm just going to go here, and we're going to go to FEG charts. just so you can see what this thing is currently worth. And here's something that just makes me die laughing. The value is so low that the built-in tracker right here, it's so tiny, like it can't even account for it. Like they built their tracker here on CoinGecko to be, I don't know how many zero decimal places, but FEG is still so low in value, it doesn't even show up, which I think is awesome. But you can see the growth and you can see the volume. So there is quite a bit that's kind of being traded right now, which is really, really nice. It's nice to see that amount of volume happening, and that's good. It shows there's traction. There are people that are getting involved in this. But I was dying laughing when I saw it's still so dang low that like even CoinGecko charts can't show you just how little it's worth. So before I flex and I show you I'm about to buy 905 billion, just know it's not worth hardly anything. And if you want to buy some, you should know the same thing. Okay, so I'm finally ready to make the transaction. I have tried this multiple times and failed, and I think I understand now why. So a couple things. First of all, if you hit max on whatever your maximum transaction is going to be, you probably need to pull that down a fair amount. So I'm actually going to pull this down to maybe 0.23. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to make sure that I have some wiggle room here for the gas prices. I also am going to select my token. Since I've imported it manually, it does show up. And then what I need to do is I need to click on the settings and I need to actually change my slippance tolerance. And the reason for that is there's just not a ton of this going around. And so I need to raise this. Typically you don't want to raise it this high, but in this case, I really do want to go that high. So now I've got it up around 3%. I am going to confirm the swap. I am going to hit this, and here we go. Finally, it is allowed. So I'm going to stop the video here now that it's been completed anyway, so you can see that it did indeed make the transaction. And let's come back to what I think about this. I'm just taking about a $500 flyer on FEG token. I do think it's going to do something pretty neat. It's got that neat mix of like what I like to see, some amount of trolliness, some amount of fun to it, some amount of actual interesting use cases for this. Do I think it's going to become the next like Bitcoin or Ethereum? No. But I think it's fun to take 500 bucks and just see what will happen with it. So I would love to know what you guys think. Definitely leave me a comment below. There is like no incentive for me to do this video other than I am interested. No referral codes, none of that stuff. I just thought this was a super interesting for a Friday morning review to check out a token that has caught my interest that I think is super, super cool. And we're already starting to see traction around the marketplace in FEG token. So let me know what you guys think. I would love to know if you like it, if you've bought some, if you're going to buy some, what you like or don't like about it. And by all means, please do me a huge favor by hitting that subscribe button, click the bell icon so you'll know when I have new things coming out, fun stuff like this. And I would love it as well if you'd hit the like button. That does a lot on the algorithm to get this out to the masses. Hey guys, thank you so much.